In the heart of a bustling urban neighborhood, where the sounds of laughter mingled with the distant hum of traffic, lived a young man named Malik Johnson. At just 17 years old, Malik was known for his infectious smile and unwavering determination. He was a bright student at Lincoln High School, where he excelled in his studies and participated in various extracurricular activities. But what set Malik apart was not just his academic prowess, it was his dream, a dream that many in his community found hard to believe. Malik aspired to become a police officer. Growing up in a neighborhood where interactions with law enforcement were often fraught with tension, this dream was both ambitious and courageous. He had witnessed firsthand the struggles faced by his friends and family when dealing with police officers who were often seen as adversaries rather than allies. Yet Malik believed that change was possible. He wanted to be part of that change, to bridge the gap between the community and those sworn to protect it. His mother, Angela Johnson, was a single parent who worked 2 jobs to provide for Malik and his younger sister, Aisha. Angela had always encouraged her children to pursue their dreams, no matter how difficult they seemed. She often reminded Malik of the importance of education and integrity. "You have to be the change you want to see in this world," she would say, her eyes filled with pride and hope. Malik's journey toward becoming a police officer wasn't just about wearing a badge. It was about changing perceptions, both within himself and among those around him. He volunteered at local youth programs, mentoring younger kids and teaching them about respect, responsibility, and the importance of community service. He often spoke at school assemblies about his aspirations, urging his peers to see law enforcement as partners in creating a safer environment, rather than as figures of fear. Despite his positive outlook, Malik faced skepticism from many in his community. "Why would you want to be one of them?" some would ask, shaking their heads in disbelief. Others shared stories of friends or family members who had negative encounters with police officers. But Malik remained steadfast in his belief that not all officers were bad, that there were good people in uniform who genuinely wanted to help. One afternoon, while walking home from school with his best friend Jamal, they passed by a local convenience store. The sun was shining brightly, casting long shadows on the pavement as they laughed about their upcoming basketball game. Jamal nudged Malik playfully. "You know, if you keep this up, you'll be wearing that badge before we know it," he joked. Malik chuckled, but felt a pang of seriousness in Jamal's words. "I really hope so," he replied thoughtfully. "I want to show people that we can change things from within." As they continued their walk home, Malik's mind wandered to as they moved closer to the store entrance, they could see through the glass doors that chaos reigned inside. A masked figure stood behind the counter, brandishing a weapon while demanding money from the terrified clerk. The sight sent chills down Malik's spine. This was not just an event on the news. It was happening right before their eyes. In that moment of fear and uncertainty, something ignited within Malik, a sense of duty that transcended panic. He remembered all those discussions about bravery and standing up for what is right. Now was his chance to put those lessons into action. "Stay here," he whispered urgently to Jamal before stepping back into the shadows. He needed a plan, one that would allow him to intervene without putting himself or anyone else in danger. Malik quickly scanned the area for anything he could use as an advantage, a distraction perhaps. His eyes landed on a stack of crates outside the store. With adrenaline coursing through him, he quietly moved toward them, while keeping an eye on the robber inside. Taking a deep breath to steady himself, Malik picked up one of the crates and positioned it behind him for support. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Hey! You! Get away from him!" The robber turned abruptly at Malik's voice, surprised by this unexpected confrontation, and for a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. The clerk looked up in shock, while Jamal gasped from behind cover. "Who do you think you are?" the robber sneered, but hesitated as he assessed this bold teenager standing defiantly outside. "I'm not afraid of you," Malik shouted back with more confidence than he felt inside. "You need to leave now." The standoff continued for what felt like an eternity. Then suddenly, without warning, Malik lunged forward toward the entrance, his heart pounding fiercely in his chest as he prepared himself for whatever might happen next. This segment sets up Malik's character and background while introducing key themes such as courage and community perception regarding law enforcement. You can continue building on this foundation in subsequent segments as you develop the story further. The moment Malik lunged toward the store entrance, adrenaline surged through his veins. Time seemed to slow as he crossed the threshold into the chaos inside. The robber, startled by Malik's sudden appearance, momentarily lost focus on the clerk, who was trembling behind the counter. Malik could see the fear in the clerk's eyes, a mixture of desperation and hope. "Get down," Malik shouted, instinctively positioning himself between the robber and the clerk. He could feel his heart racing, but he forced himself to stay calm. "You don't have to do this. Just walk away." The robber, a young man with wild eyes and a mask covering his face, looked taken aback by Malik's boldness. "Who do you think you are?" he spat, gripping the weapon tighter. "You think you can just come in here and play hero?" Malik glanced around, searching for anything that could help him defuse the situation. The store was small, cluttered with shelves of snacks and drinks, but it felt suffocating in that moment. He noticed a few customers crouched behind aisles, their faces pale with fear. He knew they were counting on him. "Listen," Malik said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You don't want to hurt anyone. You can just leave. No one has to get hurt today." The robber hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. Malik seized the opportunity to step closer, maintaining eye contact. "You're better than this," he urged. "Whatever you're going through, there's another way out." For a brief moment, it seemed as if Malik's words were reaching him. The tension in the air thickened as silence enveloped the store. But then, anger flared in the robber's eyes once more. "Shut up!" he yelled, raising the weapon threateningly. Malik felt a surge of fear, but stood his ground. He remembered his mother's words about bravery and integrity, about standing up for what is right, even when it's hard. "I won't let you hurt anyone," he declared firmly. Suddenly, Jamal burst into action from outside. He had been watching the scene unfold and couldn't stand by any longer. "Malik, get back," he shouted as he rushed into the store. "Jamal, no," Malik cried out. But it was too late. Jamal's presence startled the robber again. In that split second of distraction, Malik took advantage of the moment and lunged forward. He grabbed a nearby display stand and knocked it over toward the robber, creating a loud crash that echoed through the store. The robber stumbled back in shock as Malik shouted again, "Run! Everyone get out!" Customers began to scramble for safety, ducking behind shelves and rushing toward the exit as panic set in. The clerk took advantage of the chaos and ducked out from behind the counter. In that moment of confusion, Malik felt a rush of determination wash over him. He had to act quickly before things escalated further. With every ounce of courage he could muster, he charged at the robber again. "Stop!" Malik yelled as he tackled him to the ground. They both fell hard onto the tile floor, with Malik on top. The weapon slipped from the robber's hand and skidded across the floor. The two struggled briefly before Malik managed to pin him down with his knee on his chest. "You're done," he shouted, breathing heavily as he held him in place. Just then, sirens wailed in the distance. Help was on its way. Malik could hear Jamal shouting for everyone to stay calm outside while they waited for police assistance. The robber squirmed beneath him, but Malik held firm, adrenaline coursing through his body as he realized what he had just done. Moments later, police officers burst through the door with their weapons drawn. "Hands up! Show us your hands," they commanded. Malik quickly raised his hands in surrender while still keeping pressure on the robber beneath him. I've got him, he shouted over the chaos. The officers rushed forward and quickly assessed the situation. One officer grabbed hold of Malik's shoulder reassuringly, while another cuffed the robber, who was now subdued on the floor. "You did good," one officer said to Malik as they helped him stand up. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Malik replied breathlessly, still processing everything that had just happened. As officers took control of the scene and ensured everyone was safe, Malik felt a mix of relief and disbelief wash over him. He had acted bravely when faced with danger, something he had always dreamed of doing as an officer himself. Once things settled down and everyone was accounted for outside in front of the store, reporters began to arrive at the scene to cover what had happened. News cameras were rolling as witnesses recounted their experiences. Malik stood among them alongside Jamal and other community members who had been present during the incident. He felt a wave of gratitude wash over him as people began to express their admiration for his actions. "You're a hero," one woman exclaimed tearfully as she hugged him tightly. Malik smiled shyly, but felt overwhelmed by all this attention. This wasn't why he had intervened. He simply wanted to help. As news reporters began interviewing him about what had happened inside, Malik found himself speaking not just about stopping a robbery, but about why he wanted to become a police officer in the first place, to change perceptions and show that young black men could be heroes too. "I want people to see that we can make a difference," Malik said passionately into the camera. "We need more good people in law enforcement who understand our communities." His words resonated deeply with those listening, both in person and through their screens at home, and sparked conversations about trust between law enforcement and communities of color. As police officers escorted them away from the scene for their safety and took statements from witnesses, including Jamal, Malik couldn't shake off how surreal everything felt. This was a defining moment, not only for himself, but also for those around him who had witnessed it all unfold. Little did he know how this event would change not only his life, but also how others viewed young black men in their community moving forward. This segment captures the intensity of the robbery incident while highlighting Malik's bravery and determination to make a difference in his community. You can continue building on this foundation in subsequent segments as you develop further aspects of Malik's journey. The chaos of the robbery began to settle as police officers secured the scene and gathered statements from witnesses. Malik stood to the side, still processing what had just happened. The adrenaline that had fueled him moments ago was now giving way to a mix of exhaustion and disbelief. He had never imagined he would find himself in such a situation, one that would not only test his courage, but also define his character. As the officers interviewed him, Malik noticed a small crowd gathering outside the convenience store. Neighbors and friends, drawn by the commotion, began to murmur among themselves. Some were visibly shaken, while others expressed admiration for Malik's bravery. He could hear snippets of conversations as people recounted their own experiences with crime and law enforcement. "Did you see how he tackled that guy?" one neighbor exclaimed. "That kid is a hero." Malik's cheeks flushed at the praise. He didn't feel like a hero. He had simply done what he thought was right in that moment. But as more people approached him, thanking him for his bravery, he began to understand the impact of his actions. Angela Johnson, Malik's mother, rushed through the crowd, her eyes wide with concern. "Malik, are you okay?" she cried, wrapping her arms around him tightly. Relief washed over her face as she pulled back to examine him for any injuries. "I'm fine, Mom," Malik reassured her, though he could see the worry etched in her features. I couldn't let anything happen to that clerk." Angela nodded, pride swelling in her chest despite her fear. "You did something incredible today," she said softly. "I'm so proud of you." As they spoke, Jamal joined them, his expression a mix of awe and disbelief. "Man, you were amazing back there," he said, slapping Malik on the back. "I can't believe you tackled that guy." Malik shrugged modestly. I just did what I had to do." The police officers finished their interviews and began to disperse the crowd, but not before one officer approached Malik again. "You really showed a lot of courage today," he said sincerely. "We need more young men like you in our communities." Malik felt a surge of hope at those words. Perhaps this was a turning point, not just for himself, but for how others viewed young black men in their neighborhoods. As news of Malik's bravery spread throughout the community and beyond, local media outlets began reporting on the incident. The story highlighted not only the robbery, but also Malik's heroic actions and his aspirations to become a police officer. In the days that followed, Malik found himself at the center of attention in ways he had never anticipated. Interviews with local news stations featured clips of him recounting his experience and sharing his vision for positive change within law enforcement. "I want people to understand that we can work together," he told one reporter during an interview at Lincoln High School. "I believe in building trust between our communities and police officers. We need more understanding, on both sides." His words resonated deeply with viewers across the city and sparked conversations about race relations and policing in their community. Social media buzzed with support for Malik as people shared his story far and wide. At school, Malik became somewhat of a celebrity overnight. Students approached him in hallways, congratulating him on his bravery and expressing admiration for his dream of becoming an officer. "Hey Malik, you should run for student council," one classmate joked during lunch. "You're basically a superhero now." Malik laughed it off but felt a sense of responsibility weighing on him. He realized that with this newfound attention came an opportunity to advocate for change and inspire others. One afternoon, during a meeting with his guidance counselor about college applications, Malik shared his thoughts about pursuing criminal justice studies after graduation. "I want to make a difference," he said earnestly. "I want to show people that we can be part of the solution." His counselor nodded approvingly. "That's an admirable goal, Malik," she replied. "And after what you've done recently, I think you have a unique perspective that could really benefit your future career." Encouraged by her support, Malik began researching local colleges with strong criminal justice programs, while also looking into internships with community organizations focused on youth outreach and police relations. Meanwhile, community leaders took notice of Malik's actions as well. They invited him to speak at local events aimed at fostering dialogue between residents and law enforcement officials, a platform where he could share his vision for change firsthand. At one such event held at the community center, Malik stood before an audience filled with neighbors, activists, and police officers alike. He spoke passionately about bridging gaps between communities and law enforcement through understanding and communication. "We need to create spaces where we can talk openly about our experiences," he urged them. "We all want safety. We all want respect. Let's work together to achieve that." The room erupted in applause as people nodded in agreement. Malik's words struck a chord with many who had long felt marginalized or misunderstood by those meant to protect them. As he left the event that night feeling inspired by the positive feedback from attendees, Malik couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come since that fateful day at the convenience store. He realized that this journey was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead as he pursued his dream, but now he felt empowered, knowing there were people who believed in him and supported his vision for change. Little did he know that this newfound purpose would lead him down unexpected paths filled with opportunities to make an even greater impact within his community. As weeks turned into months following the robbery incident, Malik Johnson found himself at a crossroads. The attention he received had not only elevated his status in the community, but also solidified his resolve to pursue a career in law enforcement. He was determined to become the kind of officer who would foster trust and understanding between police and the communities they served. With each passing day, Malik dedicated himself to his studies and community involvement. He volunteered at local youth programs, mentoring younger kids and sharing his story. He wanted to inspire them to believe in their potential, just as he had learned to believe in himself. "You can be anything you want to be," he would tell them, his eyes shining with conviction. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." One afternoon, while working with a group of middle school students at a community center, Malik noticed a young girl named Mia who seemed particularly withdrawn. She sat quietly in the corner, avoiding eye contact with others. Malik approached her gently. "Hey there, what's your name?" he asked with a warm smile. "Mia," she replied softly. "Nice to meet you, Mia. I want you to know that it's okay to be shy." "I used to be shy too," Malik shared, hoping to make her feel more comfortable. "But I found that speaking up can really help others understand us better." Mia looked up at him curiously. "You're the one who stopped that robbery, right?" Malik nodded, feeling a sense of responsibility wash over him. "Yeah, that was me. But it's not just about being brave. It's about wanting to make things better for everyone." Inspired by their conversation, Malik encouraged Mia to join him in an upcoming community event focused on youth empowerment. He believed that by participating, she could find her voice and connect with others who shared similar experiences. As the event approached, Malik prepared diligently. He had been invited to speak alongside local leaders and law enforcement officials about the importance of community engagement and understanding. The event was designed to foster dialogue between residents and police officers, a topic that resonated deeply with Malik. On the day of the event, held at a local high school auditorium, Malik stood backstage feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. He could hear the chatter of attendees filling the room as they gathered for what promised to be an impactful discussion. When it was finally his turn to speak, Malik stepped onto the stage, greeted by applause from the audience. He took a deep breath and began sharing his journey, how he had grown up in a neighborhood where perceptions of law enforcement were often negative, but how he believed in changing that narrative. "I want to be an officer who people can trust," he said passionately. "I want to show young people like Mia that they can achieve their dreams, no matter what obstacles they face." As he spoke about his vision for bridging gaps between communities and police officers, he noticed Mia sitting in the front row, her eyes wide with admiration. In that moment, Malik felt empowered. He was not just speaking for himself, but for all those who had ever felt marginalized or misunderstood. After his speech concluded, attendees approached him with words of encouragement and gratitude. Many expressed their appreciation for his courage and vision for change. "Thank you for being such an inspiration," one woman said tearfully as she hugged him tightly. "You're making a difference." Malik smiled humbly but felt a sense of fulfillment within him. This was what he had always wanted, to inspire hope and change perceptions within his community. In the following weeks, Malik continued to engage with local organizations focused on youth empowerment and police-community relations. He collaborated with police departments on initiatives aimed at building trust through transparency and open communication. One day, while attending a meeting with community leaders and police officials, Malik proposed an idea for a mentorship program that paired young people with officers in their neighborhoods. The goal was simple: create opportunities for meaningful interactions where both sides could learn from each other. "I think we need more chances for young people to see officers as real people, not just uniforms," Malik explained passionately during the meeting. "If we can build relationships early on, we can change perceptions for generations." The room buzzed with discussion as officials considered his proposal seriously. They recognized Malik's passion and commitment to fostering understanding within their community. As summer approached, Malik received exciting news. He had been awarded a scholarship to attend a summer program focused on criminal justice studies at a nearby university. This opportunity would allow him to explore his interests further while connecting with mentors in law enforcement. When he shared the news with Angela and Aisha at home that evening, their faces lit up with pride. "You did it!" Aisha exclaimed, jumping up and down excitedly. Angela hugged Malik tightly. "This is just the beginning. I'm so proud of you." Malik felt grateful for their support, but also aware of the responsibility that came with this opportunity. He knew that pursuing his dream would require hard work and dedication, but he was ready for it. As he prepared for this new chapter in his life, Malik reflected on how far he had come since that day at the convenience store, the day when he took action not just for himself, but for everyone around him. He understood now that being a hero wasn't just about one moment of bravery. It was about consistently striving to make a difference every day, about showing up for others when it mattered most. As summer unfolded before him, filled with new experiences and challenges ahead, Malik remained committed not only to achieving his dreams, but also ensuring that others could see themselves reflected in those dreams too. With each step forward on this journey toward becoming an officer dedicated to positive change, he knew deep down that together they could rewrite narratives, transforming fear into trust, creating communities where everyone felt safe and